Today we'll be dealing this topic called emergency provisions from Indian polity. So basically I'm dealing in Indian polity here. I am Madhu Sudhan, and today we'll be dealing in this YouTube live class. Today we'll be dealing topic called emergency provisions. So manam emergency provisions gurinchi ivala discuss cheddam. What do you mean by, so basically emergency ante enti? Emergency. So emergency, what do you mean by emergency? Emergency ante something called abnormality. Abnormality ante normal situations nunchi abnormal situations ni convert cheste danni emergency antam. So if you emergency ante abnormal situation. Abnormal situation అంటే నార్మల్ సిచ్యువేషన్ నుంచి అబ్నార్మల్ సిచ్యువేషన్ని మనం we call it as emergency situation. So basically when it comes to Indian polity, what happens is we have three kinds of emergency మూడు రకాలు. Okay, so we have three kinds of emergency, and what are those three kinds so these abnormal situations basically, so what happens in emergency is center becomes more powerful in emergency situations, or in these abnormal situations, or in these emergency situations. What happens is, see, we have relationship between center and state. Okay, generally generally what happens is center works within union list, state works within state list. Okay, and when emergency situation happens, center becomes, so what's happening here federal relationship is being maintained. Generally federal relationship is maintained during what? During your normal situations. When situations become abnormal, what happens is this center will grab power from the state list. It will take away powers from the state list. So what happens is this center becomes more powerful. It becomes more powerful. So this happens during your abnormal situation, abnormal or emergency situation. So during emergency situation, center becomes more powerful, or else what happens is center ku undalsina power center ku untundi, state ku undalsina power state ku untundi normal scenario lo. Kani abnormal scenario lo emavutundante center becomes more powerful. Center state list nunchi it can take away many items. So legislation paranga, execution paranga, administration paranga, what happens is state list nunchi generally state government will take away the power, but ikkada emavutundante center will take away the power. So with that what happens is center becomes more powerful. During this emergency situation or abnormal situation. Okay, aithe ee emergency entante, this emergency is of three types. So we have three types of emergency. One, we call it as national emergency, which is according to Article 352. According to Article 352, we have a first type of emergency called national emergency. And then according to Article 356, we have second type of emergency. Second type of emergency called, what we call second type of emergency as President's rule, or constitutional emergency or state emergency. So state lo emergency anamata. So according to Article 356. And then we have third type of emergency called financial emergency. Financial emergency according to what? According to Article 360. According to Article 360, we have third type. So see, basically national emergency, and then president's rule, financial emergency. So national emergency according to Article 352. And then we have president's rule or state emergency or constitutional emergency according to Article 356. And then financial emergency because of under Article 360. Okay, then but proclamation or formal declaration of this emergency is because of varied reasons. Ante meeku national emergency ki there is a separate reason why national emergency is being proclaimed, and state emergency or president's rule ki there is separate reason, and then financial emergency ki there is a separate reason. In today's class, what we'll be doing is, we'll be discussing about something called national emergency, only about national emergency. Okay, so let's know what happens when it comes to national emergency. So how exactly, why exactly do we have national emergency? National emergency ఎందుకు వచ్చింది? Okay, so basically మీకు ఏం చెప్పాను, ఎమర్జెన్సీ అంటే అబ్నార్మల్ సిచ్యువేషన్. వాట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అబ్నార్మల్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ వుడ్ ఏ కంట్రీ హ్యావ్? జనరలీ వాట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అబ్నార్మల్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ అంటే కంట్రీలో ఎలాంటి అబ్నార్మల్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ రావచ్చు? జనరల్లీ there should be a war, right? So basically we have a war, and then we have something called external aggression, or we will have armed rebellion. Okay, these are the three criteria due to which we will have national emergency. President basically proclaims national emergency. See, president ante we have president because we are a republican country. We have a elected head called president who is indirectly elected, right? Adi president em chestaru, president ni cabinet em untundi. Cabinet ante evaru? Cabinet ante prime minister along with cabinet. Cabinet ministers ante important portfolios. వీళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఒక రిటర్న్ డాక్యుమెంట్లో ప్రెసిడెంట్కి ఎమర్జెన్సీ ప్రొక్లెయిమ్ చేయమని దే విల్ గివ్ ఎ ఫార్మల్ అథారిటీ. సో వాట్ హ్యాపన్స్ ఇస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ విల్ దెన్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ విల్ ఫార్మల్లీ డిక్లేర్ అనమాట. సో బేసికలీ ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఈజ్ ఓన్లీ అ సెరిమోనియల్ హెడ్. ఇక్కడ హీ ఈజ్ ఓన్లీ అ సెరిమోనియల్ హెడ్, బట్ యాక్చువల్ హెడ్, రియల్ హెడ్ ఎవరు? ఇట్స్ అవర్ ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్ అండ్ కౌన్సిల్ ఆఫ్ మినిస్టర్స్, ఆర్ ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్ అండ్ క్యాబినెట్ మినిస్టర్స్, వీళ్ళు అనమాట. అయితే దట్ ఈస్ హౌ ప్రెసిడెంట్స్ రూల్ కమ్ ఇన్ టు పిక్చర్. Okay, so according to Article 352, what happens is we have national emergency because of three reasons, three varied reasons. One is because of war. Okay, war ante enti? War ante where there is a large scale official war, official declared war between two countries. Large scale war anamata, not like small fights, okay, small incursions or something. So here ikkada em avutundante we have a large scale war, let's say between India and Pakistan, between India and China, between India and Bangladesh, or you have many formal. So here in war what happens is you formally declare ki we are fighting against you and we are against you. So that is called as war. Okay, so did such scenarios happen in India? Yeah, it did happen in India. When it happened during Indo-China war, when it happened during 1962. In 1962 what happened was we had a war against China, which is called as Indo-China war. Okay, again, so at that point of time national emergency was declared. And then again with Pakistan also we had war. With Pakistan we had two wars. Okay, with Pakistan we had two wars, one during 1965 and then again during 1971. Okay, there was another war also, Kargil, Kargil war, but during Kargil war there was no official declaration of national emergency. There was no official declaration. Only during these first two instances where only national emergency was proclaimed. One was during 1962 and then in 1975. But we were continuing war with Indo-China. We were continuing war against China, and simultaneously what happened was in 1965. See, 1962 we had a war with China. 1962 we had a war with China. So in 1965 we had a war with Pakistan. So this China war was continuing, and along came Indo-Pakistan war. So when war happened with Pakistan, there was no formal declaration because already country was under emergency. Okay, so this was because of war anamata. Okay, this was because of war. And then another reason is because of external aggression. External aggression ante enti? What do you mean by external aggression? So basically external aggression ante where you don't declare formally, you don't declare a formal war against each other. Here what happens, small fights happen, like terrorism activities happen, like Pahalgam attack happened, such kind of activities. Like China, we have dispute with China in Arunachal Pradesh, right? So it small fights, not for a large scale fight. This is called as external aggression. So even because of external aggression there was a emergency, national emergency. Okay, so basically if you look at Indo-China war happened in 1962. Okay, so there was formal declaration war. And what happened with Indo-China war? Indo-China war happened from 1962 to 1968. See, not war, actually external aggression, your national emergency happened. Okay, national emergency happened during this period of time. But what happened in between itself, war was finished, but later after war also there were small fights between India and China. So that is the reason what happened was our national emergency also started getting extended till 1968. So that is the reason. Okay, so war is one reason, external aggression is one reason, and then we have something called armed rebellion. Armed rebellion. Till now, due to armed rebellion, we never had any emergency. But this armed rebellion is a term which was amended in 44th constitutional amendment, because earlier we had one term called internal disturbance. Internal disturbance. And this internal disturbance happened to be, and because of this term called internal disturbance, what happened was, former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, she declared internal emergency in India because of this term called internal, on the basis of term called internal emergency. Now, on the basis of a term called internal disturbance. Okay. So what do you mean by internal disturbance? See, this term internal disturbance is very vague. It's very vague and very ambiguous. So because of its ambiguity, what happened was, Miru chinna protest chesina, if you do small scale protest or large scale protest, that also will come under disturbance of law and order. So you can declare under internal disturbance, you can declare internal emergency. So there was misutilization of this term called internal disturbance. Then what happened after Indira Gandhi? Then what happened was, we had another government of Janta government. So what did this Janta government do? They changed this term internal disturbances to armed rebellion. Armed rebellion according to 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. So what happened with armed rebellion? Armed rebellion is specific. This term is more specific. See, look at the term armed rebellion. So basically rebelling with arms, rebelling with revolting with weapon. It's specific, right? So what happens within India, if there is a war, if there is if few of them rebelling or revolting against Indian government. So because of that reason, see, for example, Naxalism is one of the thing which comes under armed rebellion, right? Armed rebellion. So this term became more specific now. Okay. So because of these various reasons, what happens is, President declares national emergency according to Article 352. So before getting into Article 352, see, why exactly does center become more powerful? Why exactly? I told you in previous incidents that during center, in center-state relations, center takes away all the powers of state government. Why? Because to protect sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of India, of country, what happens is center becomes more powerful rather than states. Okay. So this is one thing, and so your central government becomes more powerful. And then what happens is, during normal scenarios, see, for example, during normal scenarios, what happens? We have center and then we have state. Okay. Center does activities from union list. State does activities from state list. Okay. So what happens? It takes power from union list. State takes power from state list. This is during your what? During your normal scenarios. Normal scenario where a federal relationship is maintained. Where a federal relationship between center and state is maintained. What kind of federal relationship? It can be administrative relationship, it can be legislative relationship, financial relationship, all these aspects of relationship. So this happens during your normal scenario. And during emergency scenario, what happens? Center becomes powerful. Center happens to take away all the matters from state list. It takes away all the matters from state list. So state becomes less powerful, and here center becomes more powerful. So here what's happening? Here in normal scenario, federal character is being maintained, right? And during abnormal situation, during abnormal scenario, what happens is, center is becoming more powerful, as I told you in the first instance, right? So what happens is, this is being converted from federal to unitary feature. This is being converted from federal to unitary feature. So basically, there is a conversion of feature of government from federal government to unitary government. Okay, in federal government, both of them have equal powers. Center and state have equal powers. Like now we are in normal scenario. Center and state have equal powers. But during emergency, it gets converted into unitary power. So during unitary government, what happens? During unitary government, center becomes more powerful. Okay, so such kind of phenomena happens during emergency. Such kind of phenomena happens during your emergency. So this is about your national emergency. Within national emergency, so what happened was, see, basically there is a difference between external aggression and the term called war. We already discussed this aspect. War ante basically where there is a formal declaration of war, okay, and conflict is at large scale. And when what happens when external aggression comes, it is without a formal declaration of war, and it is a small fight, not a large scale fight. Okay, that is a difference. So now let's see, let's get more deeper into this phenomena called type of emergency called national emergency. This national emergency is actually of two types. It is of two types. See, I told you that there are three reasons, right? War, external aggression, and armed rebellion, right? So these reasons are itself divided into two types. See, for example, war and external aggression. This happens because of external forces, right? It happens due to external forces. External forces ante external forces ante which are from outside, the country, right? So countries which are outside India. So those countries will fight against India. So external emergency. So these external factors are divided into this separate bracket called external emergency. So basically, national emergency is of two types. Okay, this national emergency is of two types. One is external emergency, and then we have internal emergency. See, basically, don't get confused. National emergency according to Article 352, and then this national emergency is of again two types. It is Randrakal. National emergency is of two types. One is external emergency, then we have internal emergency. Okay, so external emergency ante enti? External emergency ante emergency because of external factors. External factors like enti? External factors like war and external aggression. Okay, E factors valla. And tarvata nenemannanu, we have another reason called armed rebellion, right? So if at all national emergency happens because of armed rebellion, that comes under internal emergency. That comes under something called internal emergency. So see, external emergency, when national emergency is declared on grounds of war and external aggression, that is your external emergency. Internal emergency is because of armed rebellion. So this new term was coined due to this 44th constitutional amendment. Earlier we had internal disturbance. Okay, so till now, because of armed rebellion, there was no emergency. Only because of term called internal disturbance, we had emergency. That too during 1975. Okay, so see, so basically these are the so if you look at the grounds of declaration, so we already discussed what are the grounds of declaration for national emergency. Because of war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. Okay, war and external aggression comes under something called external aggression, external emergency, and your armed rebellion comes under internal emergency. Comes under internal emergency. Okay, so this is another phenomena in emergency is when can president proclaim national emergency? When can president proclaim national emergency? One is, see, it is not necessary that there should be actual war. If at all there is a scenario or a situation where there may be a war, there can be a war. During that scenario also, president can proclaim national emergency and water. Okay, it's not only when war happens, national emergency should be formally authorized. Even during when there is a scenario, when president feels there is situation is about to get to war. So when he feels such things, national emergency can be declared by president. Okay, so what are the incidences? So we discussed. See, in these are two, external emergency and internal emergency of India. So when did they happen? One is in 1962, Indo-China War happened. And in 1971, Indo-Pakistan War happened. See, we liberated Bangladesh from East Pakistan, right? We liberated from West Pakistan. Actually, we liberated from West Pakistan. West Pakistan is your present Pakistan, which was controlling Bangladesh, right? So what happened was during Indira Gandhi period of time, we supported Bangladesh and we liberated Bangladesh during 1971. And then in 1975, what happened? There was internal as well as external emergency. So what happened? See, 1970, so in 1971 there was Indo-Pakistan war, which was an external emergency, and then internal disturbance. Because of internal disturbance, I told you, right, because of term called internal disturbance, which is a vague term, ambiguous term. So political turmoil aindannamata, political stability. You know what happened was Allahabad High Court declared election of 1971 where Indira Gandhi won as malpractice. That election result was considered as malpractice. Then what happened was Janta government, Janta party people, they were in opposition. They revolted. They basically protested against Indira Gandhi. So that time what happened was Indira Gandhi declared this internal emergency. So this was happening simultaneously to your Indo-Pakistan war. So that is the reason in 1975, what happened? 1975 to 1977, we had internal emergency plus external emergency. So this is the reason this emergency was extended. Actually, 1971 war happened. It could have ended in 1975, but still what happened? 1975 lo internal emergency started. Then again we had to extend the life of Lok Sabha also for another 2 years. Okay, even your national emergency had to be extended for another 2 years, which happened to be this time. And I told you that 1962 China war happened, right? And then in 1965 Indo-Pakistan war happened. See, there are two reasons why Pakistan war happened. Why we fought against Pakistan. In 1965 it was because of Kashmir issue we fought against Pakistan. Okay, and in 1971 we fought to liberate Bangladesh from West Pakistan. So basically these are the scenarios why national emergencies happened. Okay, and when can a president proclaim national emergency? Only when Prime Minister along with cabinet will give a written document to president saying that you can formally declare or approve or formally declare national emergency. So written document. So here there must be a cabinet approval. Okay, and then this we had a case called Minerva Mills case. What did Minerva Mills case talk about? Minerva Mills case talks about proclamation of national emergency can be challenged in court. So there can't be any misutilization of national emergency. So here you can challenge in court if at all there is a misutilization, like what happened in internal emergency. This kind of misutilization can be challenged in a court and matter. And now let's see what is the parliamentary approval. What is the parliamentary approval and duration of national emergency? So for president declare cheyagane saripodu. Next time avalante Lok Sabha Rajya Sabha nunchi this resolution has to be passed to proclaim national emergency anamata. Aithe how? So basically this resolution should be passed through both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. In both houses it has to be passed through special majority. What do you mean by special majority? Special majority ante, see, special majority ante a majority of total membership of that house. A majority of total membership of that house. Ante for example enti Lok Sabha undi. Lok Sabhalo total membership enta 545. The total membership of Lok Sabha is 545. So what is the majority of Lok Sabha? One is it is nothing but more than 50% of 545. What is 50% of 545? 271 or 272 something, right? So plus 1 is nothing but majority of 545, right? Which is the total membership of Lok Sabha. So that is the value which you have to get. So 273 is the term which you have to get in Lok Sabha, and then 245. 245 is in your Rajya Sabha. So total membership of Rajya Sabha is 245, and you have to get majority of total membership of that Rajya Sabha, right? 245. So 122 or something. 122 plus 1, 123. Okay, more than 50%. Okay, this is one thing. And then if you have to get special majority, there are two conditions. One is majority of total membership of that house, and then majority of not less than 2/3 of members of the house present and voting. Members of the house present and voting. Ante emani ardham? See, Lok Sabha you have 545. Okay, So counting roju, vote roju, they won't declare, you won't count the whole membership. There what happens is only number of members who came to Lok Sabha on that particular day. అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ 545 అనుకోండి టోటల్ మెంబర్షిప్. ఆ టోటల్ మెంబర్షిప్లో వచ్చిన వాళ్ళు హూ కేమ్ ఆన్ దట్ డే వుడ్ బి 300 or 320 అనుకుందాం. విత్ ఇన్ దట్ 320, 20 members never voted. Let's say only 300 members voted. So you have to take 2/3 of that 300. 2/3 of that 300. అంటే ఏంటి 3 then 100, so 200. You will get the value of 200 for Lok Sabha. Okay, so members present and voting. You have to calculate members present and voting, not the total membership. Okay, so this is about, so you have to get the criteria. These two criteria should be there when you calculate special majority, total membership of the house and 2/3 of members present and voting. This is special majority. This special majority has to be taken for Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha to declare to declare national emergency, as well as let's say you to declare, and declaration duration anta. So till when can this national emergency happen? So maybe 1 year or 2 years or maybe 6 months. So what happens is there will be a duration of 6 months. So after 6 months again, if you want to continue this national emergency, you have to again go through special majority, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Okay, again you have to extend for another 6 months, so 1 year. Again, if you want, let's say war is not ending, so every 6 months you keep on extending the date anamata. You keep on extending the date with special majority of both the houses. Okay, so declaration ki, continuation ki, special majority of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay, ila avutundi anamata. Ade let's say war ended and situation is normal. When situation is normal, you have to discontinue you have to discontinue national emergency, right? So to discontinue national emergency, what happens is only Lok Sabha approval is sufficient, not Rajya Sabha. And that too, in Lok Sabha only simple majority is sufficient. Only simple majority of votes is sufficient from Lok Sabha. Okay, so to continue you need a harder procedure. To discontinue you need a simple procedure basically. Okay, so basically to discontinue what happens is you have to take simple majority of Lok Sabha. Simple majority of Lok Sabha. Simple majority of Lok Sabha ante enti? We'll discuss all those aspects. What is simple majority of Lok Sabha and all that. Okay, so this is about your approval and duration. Okay, this is about your approval and duration. And what is the maximum period of national emergency? Ante ఒకసారి నేను extend చేశా 6 months, I extended, and for how many 6 months can I extend? There must be some duration, right? 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or no. For national emergency you can extend for indefinite period of time. You can extend for indefinite period of time. Okay, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. You can extend indefinite period of time anamata. So indefinitely you can extend your national emergency with continuation of 6 months, every 6 months. Okay, so this is about your national emergencies, parliamentary approval and duration. And then let's see revocation ante discontinuation of proclamation. Discontinuation of proclamation enti? Only Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha passes resolution through disapproving. So disapproving happens through Lok Sabha, and Lok Sabha also, that too only through simple majority. Only through simple majority resolution of disapproval happens. Okay, resolution of approving the continuation of proclamation needs to be passed by both houses. So basically to approve or to continue the national emergency, you need to take the approval of both houses. But to discontinue, only Lok Sabha. Only Lok Sabha approval is sufficient. So here what happens is there is an unequal power between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to discontinue. So basically Lok Sabha is getting upper hand, right? So this is what is about your Lok Sabha. So basically national emergency. So let's see example of simple majority. I just explained you what special majority, right? Let's see example of simple majority. How do you calculate simple majority? So let's take example of Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha, we have total members of 543. Okay, within this 543 what happened was only 300 members were present. Only 300 members were present. And then within those 300 members only 280 voted, which means that 20 abstained. Though they were present, they never voted. Okay, so here what I will take is, I will take 50%. I will basically take a majority of this 280. Majority of 280. Majority ante enti? Basically 50% plus 1 is nothing but majority. So what is 50% of 280? 140, right? So 141 is nothing but majority. 140 is 50%. 141 is majority. So basically majority of members present and voting is nothing but simple majority. That is nothing but simple majority which you require in Lok Sabha to discontinue or national emergency. So this is about your national emergency. So and this national emergency is again what it happens to have a effect or a consequence or an impact, on three occasions. It happen, there is a effect or impact or consequence. You see effect. There is an effect of national emergency where it has effect on center-state relations. See, obviously it has effect on center-state relations, right? We discussed center and state. Center takes away all the powers from state government. Center becomes more powerful. It can take away any matter from state list. So center becomes more powerful through this matter. And then we have effect on the life of Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha, what is the life of Lok Sabha? Generally it's 5 years, right? Generally it's 5 years. But during national emergency, you can extend the life of Lok Sabha. You can extend the life of Lok Sabha plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Every 1 year you can extend the Lok Sabha. See, for example, during national emergency, what happened was, see, in 1971, there was a formation of government. Then it has to end during 1975, right? But what happened in 1971, we had Indo-Bangladesh, Indo-Pakistan war. In 1975, we had internal emergency, right? Then what happened was they had to extend it for 2 years. They had to extend this government for 2 years, which means that plus until 1977. So Indira Gandhi government basically came down during 1977. Okay, so there was extension of life of Lok Sabha from 5 years to 7 years during national emergency anamata. And then effect on fundamental rights. So during national emergency, there will be effect on fundamental rights, particularly Article 19. So see, here there is a certain criteria when it comes to fundamental rights. See, if a reason for national emergency is because of only war and external emergency, ante only war and external aggression, ante which is external emergency. ఈ ఎక్స్టర్నల్ ఎమర్జెన్సీ వల్ల నేషనల్ ఎమర్జెన్సీ అయితే ఓన్లీ ఆర్టికల్ 19 ఈజ్ సస్పెండెడ్. ఆర్టికల్ 19 ఈజ్ టోటలీ సస్పెండెడ్. ఆర్టికల్ 19 అంటే వీ హ్యావ్ దోస్ సిక్స్ రైట్స్, రైట్? ఫ్రీడమ్ ఆఫ్ మూవ్మెంట్, ఫ్రీడమ్ ఆఫ్ రెసిడెన్స్, ఫ్రీడమ్ ఆఫ్ movement and freedom of profession, all these aspects. So those 6 rights will be affected anamata, during this particular reason called article, due to external emergency. External emergency kada enti, that due to this war and external aggression, what happens is article 19 is suspended. And this comes under article called article 358. And again we have another scenario where national emergency happens because of war, as well as because of external aggression, as well as because of internal emergency, ante armed rebellion valla. So ante ikkada kottaga armed rebellion add ayindi. సో ఆర్మ్డ్ రెబిలియన్ వల్ల కూడా నేషనల్ ఎమర్జెన్సీ ప్రొక్లెయిమ్ అయితే అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుందంటే ఆల్ ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ ఆర్ సస్పెండ్ అదర్ దెన్ ఆర్టికల్ 20 and 21. Other than article 20 and 21, all other fundamental rights are suspended anamata. This comes under another article called article 359 anamata. Under article 359. So 358, 359. Okay, so this is a basic difference between article 358 and 359. So impact of national emergency. So what is the effect of national emergency? This is what. So we basically discovered everything about national emergency. Okay, so impact enti, ekkada impact, and Lok Sabha life enta extend avutundi, and then national emergency eppudu extend avutundi, war and external aggression appuda, lepothe internal armed rebellion appuda, all these aspects. So this is about national emergency which we have to deal today. Thank you.